called the Digamax, all right? Not Digamax, Digamax. Exactly because of that. You're gonna get maximum result with minimal effort with this shovel. It is lightweight. It is so much easier to use than a regular spade or shovel. All right, it's a fraction of the size. It's about a half to a third of the size. It's like, you took a regular size shovel and one of our great Greanbase hand shovels, and you kind of cut it right down the middle. Here it is. If you guys don't mind, I just want to drop my cards back here real quick so I can show you all about it. It weighs about 1.5 pounds, okay? It's the perfect size if you have your garden kneeler, right, which we have coming up in the next show. If you're sitting on your garden kneeler and you're digging, it's the perfect size for that. Because most of us, when we do our garden, we're not doing it standing up. We're usually either sitting or kneeling on our garden kneeler, or we're out there in the yard and we're working. If you come in close, I'll show you some of the wonderful features, and then I'm gonna let Lorna take over. So first of all, you have that big scoop design. You have the pick design up top. So if you are weeding, if you're getting between pavers, you can pick out the weeds. If you're cutting roots, you can see the saw teeth right there, right as you're cutting there. You can get a good amount of soil inside there. You have a beautiful aluminum construction, and I mean, this is not going anywhere. It's never gonna rust on you. It's not gonna splinter or break. And then you have a nice big ergonomic handle. So if I am working in my doing my plants, especially if I've got my larger flower pots, I have the perfect tool for it. That price of $29.99 is a steal for this. And I expect this to sell out. Lorna, I think this is one of the best tools you've ever brought. I can't wait to order mine after the show.
Thank you so much, Guy. This also is brand new in the US today. It's one of the UK's best kept secrets because it's a fusion between a shovel and a trowel. Now, you may be familiar with this kind of shovel. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, and they're quite difficult to work in small spaces. And then you may remember the old garden trowels. They don't hold much dirt, they don't do much, you have to put a lot of effort in. So over here in the UK, the Greanbase team, so first of all, they came out with this tool that was so popular, people started saying, hang on a minute, could you make a little bit bigger one? So Michael Smith, he was a landscape gardener for 30 years, but he found he needed to sit down more when he was gardening and to kneel down. So he came up with a tool unlike any other tool in the world. It's a fusion between a shovel and a trowel. And yes, it weighs 1.5 pounds, but are you ready, Guy? This is how strong it is. I can stand on it, so I've got one here on 2 bricks, and this is that steel head with the alloy handle. Are you ready? It can break through tile. This is how strong it is. But getting to work, if I sit down over here, this is why this was developed, because you've got that pointed tine, you've got those serrated edges, and that huge deep scoop. So first of all, if I got some prickles or nettles or brambles, like you can see here, the thorns on this are terrible. I don't want to be touching this with my hands. I can use this, first of all, to move things away that I don't want to get in my way. I can use that pointed tine to pop out weeds and to scrape out moss. But I can also use it because it's so sharp. You can see there, it will just chop through fruit because it's so strong. But Guy, where this comes into its own, I'm sitting down and I've got all the power of a small shovel, but all the lightness of the alloy, 1.5 pounds. Look how much soil this is holding. This means I can garden so much easier, Guy.
Oh my
gosh.
There
is no other tool like this in the world. And this is brand new today.
I'm buying it as soon as I get out there. It's the first thing I'm gonna get. So here I am. And by the way, you heard me mention the garden kneeler. I'll give it a quick promo. I own 2 of these. Actually, Danny kept stealing mine to wash his car tires, so I got one for myself. But this is our garden kneeler. Holds up to what's it, 250 pounds? Which I'm glad to say I weigh a lot less than that now. But anyway, I'm using that. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. This is the shovel. So let's say you're planting outside. You got a row of flowers and you're like, I want to add one. So now I'm in the perfect position with the perfect size tool. I don't need my big shovel, and my little shovel is just a little bit hard to kind of get into the soil. What's nice about this is first of all, I can cut through any roots, whatever I need to cut through. And look at how much material I'm taking out. I mean, I'm taking out almost, I don't know if you can see it. There you go.
Huge.
That is a lot of material. I can pop my plant out. Easier said than done. I don't want to kill it. Pull this out. So, and now watch, I can keep what's in there, I can put my plant down, and then I can use the shovel to work everything around. And notice I'm using one hand with this shovel.
Yeah.
There we go, that's close enough, right? So I'm using one hand, and I have the perfect size scoop to be able to do that. It's gonna lessen your work outside. It's gonna be that perfect tool when you're doing stuff kind of right in front of you, Lorna. I mean, listen, I'm not planting, you know, a giant tree with this, but I'm planting, you know, my small to medium sized plants with something that weighs 1.5 pounds in my hand. But you know what? It's so strong. I mean, this thing is heavy duty, right?
It's super strong, but super lightweight. And just to show you the difference, this is a traditional trowel here. You can see how much more soil I have got. Look at that. It's 4 times the amount with a regular trowel, which means I'm going to be 4 times quicker doing my gardening. And whether I am transplanting or planting, whether I'm cultivating or tilling, or whether I'm planting bulbs or flowers, I've suddenly got a tool that's like no other, because I can get giant scoops of the dirt out. I can rake, I can get my fertilizer in, I can plant flowers. But when you're sitting down and you're gardening, this makes all the difference, because I've got the length of the shaft 2 feet 6 inches instead of a hand trowel to give me that reach and that leverage. So this makes gardening a dream. And Guy, there is no other tool like this elsewhere. This was designed by the Greanbase team over here in England. It's one of the best kept secrets over here in the UK, because it makes your life easy. It makes gardening simple. And again, those serrated edges are amazing for cutting through roots, and that pointed tine for pinging out weeds.
You know what it reminds me of? You know, I bought a couple of their products, Lorna. I actually still have, you know, that shovel that's shaped like pointed in the front that has the saw teeth on one side? That's a Greanbase item. I used that 2 days ago to plant a tree, because it gets through, it can get through with those saw teeth. You can get through the weeds, you can get through the roots, all that stuff so easy. But that shovel is a full-size shovel. And that means, so I'm not using that for doing, you know, small planting or medium planting. I'm using that for planting trees. This is perfect for most of your gardening, right? And that's a good example right there. It shows you the size of it. I'll hold it in my hand and you can see it's not a big giant shovel, but the scoop is a really good size, right? If you look at the size of the scoop is a really good size. So if I'm working right in front of me, I've got no problem being able to manipulate it and move the soil around. I don't have to worry if I run into anything that's rough. And you know, I've got a banyan tree near my house. I love it. It's a beautiful tree. It's a pain in my butt, man. The roots go like a mile. I mean, literally, I could be like 50 yards from the tree, and I'm like, it's that damn banyan tree again, man. And those roots are so hard to cut through. Normally, I would have to get, you know, like a hoe and try to chop it. If you've got this, just cut right through it, right?
Absolutely, Guy. This was a tool that came out of a necessity to garden for a gardener who had worked for 30 years but found they were sitting down more, kneeling down more, but they still wanted the reach of a shovel without the weight of a shovel. They wanted a giant scoop to make moving dirt and soil easier, and they wanted a pointed tine to ping out weeds and to scrape moss from their decking. I've got a full tree here. I've just planted this in, what, 2 minutes? And I'm going to come close to camera again just to show you the difference between, this is replacing your heavy shovel. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, not easy to sit down garden with these. And then this trowel actually bent the other day when I was trying to do some work. This is steel head. This is an alloy handle. It's 2 feet 6 inches. It's got the serrated edges here, the strong edges, which are great for cutting through roots, that pointed tip to ping out weeds or to scrape the paving stones or the decking. And then that scoop design is like anything else out there with this handle combined. So I can suddenly garden sitting down. But again, to show you how strong it is, because you think it's 1 pound and 5 ounces. I've got one here on 2 bricks. I am standing on it. This is how strong and tough it is. This is going to revolutionize your gardening life. It's brand new in the US today, not seen before. And once you've got one, I think, Guy, you're never going to turn back once you're doing your gardening, because the difference is just amazing.
All right, I'm going to give you an update. I got about 900, 800, 900 of these remaining. 900, my producer Rob just said 900. Lorna chopping apples out there. Well, the point is that it's a multi-tool, okay? It's not just a shovel. All right, it's obviously a digger, it's a scooper, it's a planter, it's a cutter, it's a weeder. So even, or even a scraper. I love that, that when you showed just like getting in between the pavers. I just had my driveway paved, or put pavers in. About probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and I'm already noticing little weeds growing in between the pavers. I'm like, little stinkers, man, you know, little survivors. So all I have to do is take this and just run them along. I don't have to grab the big giant scraper that I have. I can just use this little one. You'll be surprised at how many things you can use this for, but people are loving it. We are there's the footage of that. I think, Lorna, it's you know what it is? It's that Goldilocks thing, right? It's just right. That's what I mean. It's the right size, right?
Do you know what, Guy, you've summed it up. There's no tool anywhere else like this, and it is the